Well, hey, this is Dr. Scott Langford. I'm a professor of English at Foothill College, and I'm also the director of communications for the Stanford Gen Global Educators Network YouTube channel. And I am thrilled to be here today with a panel of 4 different women, all of whom are featured in this new best-selling International Women of Color Who Boss Up book. And I'll be speaking to each one of them in turn about how they got involved with the book, what does it mean to boss up, how is this book important to community college educators and community college students in particular. And one of the 4 is a former Foothill College community college student. I guess I'll have to ask the other 3 if they ever took any classes at community colleges. I didn't even do that ahead. And full disclosure, I have not met 3 of these 4 women before. So I'm asking very basic and maybe sometimes slightly off target questions so that I can figure out who they are too. So with me today, I'll just quickly give you the names and then we'll speak to each of them individually. Sheena Yap Chan, Sneha Gandhi White, Carmelle Jean-Francois, and Dr. Tonya Blackmon. Welcome to the Stanford Gen channel. All right, and now Sheena, I'm gonna start with you. And since we have not met prior to this podcast, I'm going to take the liberty of reading the introduction to or reading the bio that precedes your interview. These are in an interview format in the book as well, that precedes your interview in the book itself. So Sheena Yap Chan is a keynote speaker, coach, author, and podcaster on building self-confidence. She currently inspires women through her award-winning podcast, The Tao Self Confidence, where she interviews Asian women about their inner journey to self-confidence. And she's really focused on Asian women and helping them to live their authentic selves. All right, so Sheena, thank you and welcome to the Stanford Gen channel.
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having us. It's really an honor to be here today to talk about the book. So as you mentioned, I do have a podcast called The Tao Self Confidence, where I interview Asian women about their journey to self-confidence. And actually how I got started in this book was through Sneha. She connected me to Tam, who's been creating these Women Who Boss Up series of books. And I've been featured in 2 books, actually. So if you see behind me, one's called Asian Women Who Boss Up and the International Women of Color Who Boss Up. And these books are definitely needed, especially, when it comes to talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's a lot of people who say they're for it and then do something that's the total opposite or doesn't have the right kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion representation. And especially with what's been going on with, women of color, the things we've been going through, especially through the pandemic, we need something where we can stand in solidarity, work together to lift ourselves up, so we can create the change that we need in this world. I mean, women have been negatively affected by the pandemic. There's even an article saying that women globally lost an income of $800 billion since the pandemic, now coining it a she session. So that's why it's so important to have, a strong representation of women, especially a strong representation of women of color, so that other students can see what's possible for themselves. I never had that growing up, and it's the reason why I even started the podcast.
That is a great answer. And since I don't know, did you ever, this is fine too if you didn't, but did you ever attend a community college yourself?
Oh, I did. I actually attended
it happens so many times. I'm so used to this wonderful answer. I want the world to know.
I actually attended a community college in Toronto. So it's called Centennial College. Yeah, I graduated from accounting, never used it though. So, but yeah, I did go to community college.
Well, that is a wonderful thing. I was just learning about the community college system in Canada from another guest a few podcasts ago. And I'll mention, since you mentioned the situation of women of color in community colleges, particularly API women of color, that one of our previous podcasts last month was specifically focused on standing up and speaking out against the anti-Asian hate, which, as you all know too well, has been just viral and in our face and still growing to this moment. And that was with Dr. Meili Chai, who is a professor of creative writing, assistant professor of creative writing at San Francisco State University. So it's been something that we've been working hard on ourselves. And I'm so glad you mentioned it. And thank you for framing it as something that community college teachers really need to hear. So since you're the first penguin off the ice floe is what we used to say at Stanford. Since you're the first penguin off the ice floe, what's your definition of women who boss up? I love the term, but of course I want to make sure that I'm not just filling in a blank or misremembering having read the book with great pleasure. So what's your definition for women who boss up?
Well, women bossing up is really just going after what their dreams, right? Taking action into it, even if it's scary, even if we doubt ourselves. I mean, as women, we tend to overthink a lot. We tend to have a huge confidence gap from men where, if you and I were to go for the same like position or job position, even though I'm 110% ready, there's still something that holds me back. Whether as a man, you might be 30-40% ready, you're still going to go for it regardless of the result. And so women, a lot of women go through that, right? Because of our upbringing, the gender biases we go through, the cultural biases that we go through. And we always feel like we're never enough. We're never enough, even though we are more than capable to go out there and do our own thing. And a lot of women actually suffer from low self-confidence due to inaction, because we have all these things that we have in our head. We perceive ourselves in a way that we feel like we're not worthy enough to go after what we want, to be a CEO, to be in leadership roles, to even just apply for a promotion at work, right? So that's why it's so important to have this book, right? Women Who Boss Up, to showcase like we've been through challenges and roadblocks and bad stuff happening, right? But we still are going to get ourselves back up, keep moving forward, and just go after the things that fear us too. I mean, fear can be a big thing, right? Like it can be this thing that you're looking at and you just like, it just gets getting bigger as you keep looking at it. But the more you just push forward and push through your fears, it really helps you become confident, right? Because you're like, that wasn't the worst that I've been through, and I can move on to the next thing. And so to boss up is really to face your fears, to have the courage to go out there and do your own thing, to forge your own path, overcome obstacles, and thrive.
Wow, great answer. Third question, and maybe I can sort of repeat the sequence with the other three of you as well. But is there like a boss up moment in your own life that you'd like to share, somewhere on that trajectory, maybe between community college in Toronto and where you are now?
There's many things. I mean, one of them was buying my first condo. I mean, of course, the biggest purchase of your life is property, right? And I remember doing that and I almost had a heart attack because I've never bought anything like that was over six figures. And so, that was one thing. Another one was just this whole Women Who Boss Up project, right? The pandemic, when it first started and everything was closing down, I really thought it was the end of the world. Like I was ready to just, not do anything and realize like, that's it. It's over. The world's ending. Like this pandemic is going to close the whole world. And so I didn't do anything. I went in this like depressive state. My mental health wasn't the best. And if it wasn't for this project, like I wouldn't be here today. This project really helped me just get myself back on my feet. Of course, with the help of my family as well, giving me support. But this really propelled me to just go out there and even like talk to other women who'd want to take part in this project. And it wasn't always easy, right? You go through a lot of rejection, you go through a lot of challenges, sometimes you eat your feelings, but it's all part of the process.
Wow, and it's a great point. And again, since a lot of the audience is community college educators, I'm reminded of so many conversations with, and I'm not proud of this in the community college system, but it's not always as female friendly as it should be still to this day. And so this boss up message is not just something that our students need, it's something that all women need. And it's always amazing to me to hear professional women like yourself saying that this remains a struggle. And of course, I mean, I have my struggles, but I do think that there's a male privilege, exactly as you describe it, right? That I'll lean into something like podcasting and go for it without the stereotype threat of, oh, he's going to mess up, even though I do, by the way. But I think it's a profound point, and I think it's a beautiful thing about this book. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing some recent moments of bossing up, in other words,
Yeah.
Okay, now in the interest of time, I'm going to move on to, and we may have time to loop back around. Speaking of leaning into the podcasting, I have not had 4 guests on one panel before, so this is fun for me, but I have to kind of keep my eye on my invisible watch here. Sneha, you are going to be next up, and so what I want to do first is read how you're introduced in the book, and then add a little bit more on my own, since I know you since your Foothill days at Foothill College as a student. So in the book, Ms. Sneha Gandhi White is the owner of EmpowerYou, and she is, as Sheena was explaining, she was one of the people who helped to inspire the Women of Color book for Women Who Boss Up in the series. She was the editor is saying that she was so excited and gung-ho that she introduced me to some other people. The next thing I knew, I had another book that I didn't even think I was going to do. I wasn't even thinking about it, right? It was Asian Women Who Boss Up, which was our most recent book, and now we have International Women Who Boss Up. And so Sneha, let me just also add, was an unforgettable student that I got to know very well at Foothill College. I think we shared like maybe 4 or 5 classes. I lost count. She became an outstanding tutor at Foothill College. She went on to become a public school, inner city, urban middle school teacher in downtown San Jose. Did brilliantly there at the same time that she was finishing a master's degree in education, looking at teamwork among educators, which was fascinating. I was honored to be on her committee for that master's degree. And now she's out in the world as a success coach. And I think I'm going to have to ask her what might come next, because I think in the midst of pandemic, there's been quite a bit of job shifting too. So Sneha, welcome back in your case to the Stanford Gen Global Educators Network.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Scott, for having all of us. It's truly a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we heard a little bit about the story of you having something to do with the next series of books in which you yourself are featured, which is great, and meeting Sheena and Carmelle and Dr. Tonya along the way. But what could you add about the genesis of this book in your own life? Which I don't always know, right? Like you just kind of sent me like, look, Dr. Scott, I'm featured in this book. And I was like, wow, right? And then I got my hands on it and read some of it. And I was really, really wowed, including the eloquence of these interviews that are featured with each of you. So that's kind of the part I know, but what else do I not know that I need to know? And especially that maybe other community college educators need to know.
I think they need to know that community college is very much necessary. Having gone through it myself, it was where I found my passion. It's where I discovered that I wanted to empower others. I worked in the transfer center and I helped students discover their own dreams while discovering my own. And they saw me as a person of authority because I spent the time, did the research, and what I was saying was something that I was going through myself. So that's something that I always tell the people that I work with and interact with, is that I will never say anything that I have not gone through myself. So yes, I am a firm believer of community college. I believe with the proper ed plan and support system, you can do anything. And even in life, you need an ed plan. You need to have a game plan. What's going to happen next? So yes, you did. Thank you for the intro. Genesis of the book. I would have to say what's going on with me now is that I'm partnering. I'm going to be the regional supervisor coaching teachers, upcoming teachers, as they graduate from college and support them during their academic service year. In addition, I'm collaborating with another company and I'll be mentoring young children as well. And one thing that people ask me countless times is why both demographics? Why women? Why children? Why both? Why not one or the other? And I will confidently say it's because kids become adults. And if you plant the seed in them to be confident and to advocate for themselves and learn how to know their truth and learn how to be their inner superhero at a very young age, they will be formidable forces of nature. And these forces of nature are going to lead us into the future one day. So if we don't plant seeds and invest in them when they're young, how can we expect to just piece those little broken pieces together when they're adults, when we could have been doing it every step of the way? So I absolutely believe that both kids and women, they need our support. And that's exactly why I do what I do. And I will always call myself an educator because I've had a number of roles on the mentorship side, on the admin side, on the classroom teacher side. And I understand the frustration on all fronts. But I truly believe, and I will not say that I believe in the education system as it stands, but I believe in education. I believe in educating others to better themselves and to better the education system, because I do have a little bit of hope that it can get better for someone one day. So.
There. Well, with that in mind, and I did this in my last interview with you, but I just find this such an astounding paragraph. And I think it's also a great way to share something from the book. So I'm actually going to see if I can screen share here for a minute on my Kindle screen. Let me see if I can do that right. And if I can't, I'll do it another way. There it goes. So here's a paragraph that I want to read to you that just complete, like someone who's known Sneha for, I don't know, 15 years, like how long? I'm losing count. But anyway, and watched you go, got you go from transfer to UC level to master's level. So I've been along for the ride here. But this paragraph still, every time I read it, it astounds me, Sneha. So I'm just going to take a moment to read it. And then I'd like you to comment on it a little more, right? In order for someone, so I'm going to start right here, if you can see it on the screen. In order for someone to pursue their true path, they have to shut the door on all that white noise in life. White noise can be your family, society, or even your job, collectively sending you subtle messages about who you are meant to be. Women for centuries have allowed themselves to be talked out of their dreams or goals when we share them with the world. In reality, many of us have had this hidden spark inside of us, this secret dream life we wanted to pursue. And yet most of us have shared this dream life with someone who talked us out of it. And just like that, the dream disappears and transforms into something more, quote unquote, practical. Sneha, thank you for those words and maybe some afterthoughts now that I've given you that prompt from your own work there.
Absolutely. Afterthoughts is absolutely, I still stand by those words. White noise is something that distracts all of us. And as Sheena pointed out previously, if a man has the desire to go for something, they don't second guess themselves. Even if they know they don't have all the tools they need to succeed, they just do it. But we as women have been conditioned to have it all planned out, or we don't go for it at all. It's allowing our fear to envelope us, and then we just go, maybe not, maybe it's not worth it. And then it never happens. So absolutely. I think white noise is something that has placed me in a place of paralysis. And I know that I'm not the only woman to experience this for many, many years. And I tell many people that COVID is where I was able to go into my cocoon and then come back out even stronger. And then now I'm a formidable force, because for the first time in my life, I am making figures that I never thought I could see. And it's really not about the money. It's about the impact that I'm making. I'm making it on a greater scale. And it's because I followed my passion. I followed my path. And I still have people that give me little tidbits of helpful advice of you should do this, you should focus on this, you should focus on that. Why are you doing this with your business? Why are you doing that? Why don't you want a regular thing? I have never been a regular girl. I am just realizing it now that I don't care to be one. I have always gone against the grain of what I was supposed to do, and I quite enjoy it. So absolutely, I encourage all the women out there, if you don't put yourself into a box, and if you're not able to be placed into a box, own that. Take your magic, take your inner superhero, whatever your gift is, as long as you can do it by sharing it with the world in a beautiful manner, go for it. And you know what? It's not about the money, but if you stay true to yourself, someone along the way will see you and see your light for who you are, and they will want to join you on your journey, and they will stick with you. So remember that the white noise from your family, the people who have known you, they might just be scared of watching you level up and leaving them behind. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay to leave them behind if it can leave room for those that will truly lift you up on the rest of your journey, because the journey's not over and it's still going.
So well said. And this is going to be my third question, I guess, Sneha, which
Sure.
is one of the reasons I like that quote or love that quote is there's, it's the double pun. It's the double consciousness. Like there's white noise in the sense of background noise and static and anything that gets in your way. And then also, I mean, this book is very much about international women of color who boss up, right? So it's not just a gender element, right? There's also a race, ethnicity, language element, cultural elements that if you let them, people will try to hold you back. And I think, I have to be the white guy to own this, but yeah, the white noise can be really white guy noise. And I wanted you to speak to that as well directly. I'm sort of a safe person to ask you that question in a way, because it is something that I am very aware as a teacher that I have my, I want to be the best ally ever. But when I walk in a room, I have to earn it. And I have to earn it every day and every minute. And I have to swim upstream against a culture that seems even more explicitly white supremacist to us all, especially to like clueless white people like me. Like this last couple of years, wow, what an education. For those of us who needed a re-education, that really happened. So what about that element? What about the element of culture and race and language as well as gender?
Absolutely. I think that's a trifecta. And I guess what I could say is that growing up in Cupertino, which is like, Apple is there and it's an amazing city. But when I was going to school, my classmates were all primarily, for lack of a better term, Caucasian or white, as you might say. And I stood out and I didn't feel like I had a support system. I felt like on cultural days, I would wear my clothes and people would go, okay, that's pretty, or what is that, or where are you from, or this or that. And I remember being teased for, bringing my food to school. So I would tell my mom, I want American food when I go to school. I don't want to feel like I'm different, because I was teased for everything. And it caused me to be very withdrawn and to dive into my books, my storybooks, or my friends, because I would gravitate towards books where the girls were the superheroes, in many facets, either detective novels or anything, where they were just these badass women who would, save the day because they were intellectual and they were supported. And yes, it was fiction or nonfiction, but I was able to identify with those women because growing up, I didn't have a lot of role models. But I did have my third grade teacher who was an Indian woman who came to this country, and she went through hell and back. She grew up in Africa. Her first language was Swahili, and then her parents took her to India, and then she had to learn Hindi, and then she came to the US, and then she ended up having albino twins, and that was a whole other thing. And she was like, oh my gosh, if I can do it, anyone can, you can do it too. And and then my first grade teacher, beautiful African American woman, and she was my first grade, everything. She was kind and patient, but she held her ground, and she showed me that you can make anything happen. And I think that's the biggest thing about representation, is that for me growing up, because I didn't have the Indian teachers, a number of them, I didn't have the people of color showing me that I could do it. I knew that it was something that I was going to do. It was something that I had to do. So now I see it as my mission to empower as many women as possible. And for myself, I had a conversation earlier today about it being immigrant families, and yes, that's a part of it. But my partner, my husband, he's African American, and so for me, whenever I lead women, I see it as those, our Black girls too. I'm like, that could be my daughter one day, and I don't want her to feel like she has to be different or she has to change herself just to fit in. So even in my own family, they know that if I show up to an event or anything, I'm going to show up confidently. I wear my Indian clothes if I want to, because I want to. And I initially, in the first date, with my husband, I told him, don't call my clothes garb, because I grew up, when we were going to a party, it was, are you going to wear Western? Are you going to wear our clothes? That was the difference. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, I want girls to see me and think I can identify with her, whether it's the way that I look, whether it's based on my experiences, whatever it is, because I want women to know that they can do it at any age, at any level. And all they have to do is believe in themselves and find one or two people who will stick by them. you will be just fine. And, you know, Scott, you've been an incredible ally for majority of my life. And, you know, and these ladies here as well, it's been such a pleasure to know them and all the work that we have done together and that we will continue to do together. And it's because the work that we have to do has to get done. It is not over today and it will not be. And we just have to keep putting ourselves out there, because if we don't, then you know, yeah, the white man wins, and for lack of a better phrase, and we can't let them win, because the world deserves to change and it needs to happen now.
Yeah, as I like to remind you, my favorite bumper sticker from back in the day was well-behaved women rarely make history. So, I've been quoting that one to Sneha for like 15 years, and she's very much lived up to it. You definitely own that bumper sticker, Sneha. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next guest, 3 out of 4. And once again, this is straight out of the book, which I'm also hoping that you'll all run out and purchase, because boy, is it worth it. So Carmelle Jean-Francois was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. She's a motivational speaker and the founder CEO of CFIT Coaching. She's beautiful, strong, and fit. I'm excited to talk with her because she's been in the fitness industry for a long time, worked with celebrity trainers. And by the way, since I have read the book, Carmelle, I also know that you have quite a dramatic story in terms of your own journey to your current level of fitness and health. So first of all, welcome to the Stanford Gen channel.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Great. Now, I think I'll put out the question in that general way and let you kind of take it any direction you want, because right now, boy, there's a lot of avenues open, right? But I will start with, how did you become involved with this particular book, International Women Who Boss Up?
Wow, I feel like I was definitely lucky. My family is international, and I say that I am first generation Haitian American. So I grew up in a very Haitian household, and I never considered myself African American. I couldn't relate to the African Americans that were around. I went to Catholic school my whole life, so even I didn't go to school with African Americans, and us being here and my family being so receptive and so open to other cultures. Now our family is like the United Nations. My cousin married a Chinese woman, and she is an amazing woman. She's a motivational speaker. She speaks on so many different platforms and stages. She's been all around the world. She was in Abu Dhabi collecting a prize for her work in as an advocate for women. And she is my mentor. And she says, "Hey, cousin, I just finished the book, Asian Women Who Boss Up. And I think you should be in the next installment, International Women of Color Who Boss Up." And because she's so amazing, I knew she wasn't going to steer me wrong. And I definitely looked into it, and I saw it was an amazing project. And because she was finishing it up right along with Sheena, I said, you know what, I'm going to jump on this. And oh boy, do I not regret that decision to jump on board with this project. So that's how I got into the book.
Wow, that is a beautiful answer. Now let me ask a similar question again. Do you have a boss up moment in your own life that you want to share? I have to admit, there's a pretty unforgettable one in the early intro to the book, but there may be more since we haven't met before. But can you share a boss up moment in your own life in terms of how you yourself had to boss up?
Well, Scott, I'm curious to hear yours, but let me tell you what I was thinking when I heard you ask that question to Sheena and Sneha. My moment of bossing up was admitting that I was a boss. Literally speaking.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Literally speaking, I have a company in the construction industry. I've been doing that for 11 years.
Whoa.
And I work with architects, engineers, contractors, and I make sure I go to the New York City Department of Buildings. I make sure that their plans get approved with the city, and I get their permits, and I finish up their jobs for them. And the term that my title is called a filing representative or an expediter because we expedite the process. And I never looked at it as a big deal. And I never, when I started my business and I was excited, I was the boss. I am a boss to 4 other women of color. Actually, it's me and a partner, and together we employ 5 women of color. And that's not what we set out to do, right? We opened an office and we said, we need some employees, we need help in this. And it just so happened that that's what we got. I have an Indian woman, I have an African American, I have a Latina girl who college aide, and she's off to law school in a couple of weeks. And I feel ultra blessed, but only until last year did I step up and say, I have something amazing. I've done something amazing for the last 10, 11 years. And I never put it out there. Before people say, hey, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, I do X, Y, Z. And I would never say that it's my company, it's my business, because I didn't think that people wanted to hear it. And I never owned up to it until last year. I said, I've got something friggin' amazing here. And that's my moment of bossing up, really coming forward, knowing that I had created, done, participated in, and delegated and manicured something so beautiful in a male industry, in a male driven industry, dominated industry. And so that's when I feel like I came into my bossness.
Oh, I love that phrase. That's a new way to say it. Came into my bossness. And you know what is fascinating here is that this is a theme I didn't really expect, is that all 3 of you so far, we'll have to hear from Dr. Tonya soon. Like, this was a transformative year for you in terms of bossing up. And I guess I didn't fully expect that part. I mean, I have to say it's been quite a transformative year for me too. I guess it's been a transformative year for the planet.
So many, yeah.
Not in such a positive way with all 3 of you, despite the challenges. We had Foothill College, Dr. Cornell West came and spoke just before the pandemic, about 2 months before the pandemic hit. And Dr. West, he says many things that I always quote, but this one really hit me hard that day, because we could see what we could see was the election crisis coming at that point. But he said, artists meet crisis with creativity and courage. And I really feel that you all have done this in this year, and you've done it this year as well, which I think is kind of an exciting dimension of the interview, which I admit, I didn't even know that one was coming. Now, Carmelle, I think I'm going to take you up on the challenge. And once again, I'm going to screen share from the book, partly because I want to make sure that people know that this book is absolutely amazing. And so here's another page in which you're introduced, but this was the part that I was thinking of. And maybe you can comment on this as well. So it says, prior to all that, Carmelle studied martial arts. You left that part out so far. Competed in tournaments and taught it after achieving her black belt. She then remained sedentary for nearly a decade. It was Carmelle's involvement in a car accident from which she underwent 2 surgeries after suffering multiple injuries, including a broken hip and a broken foot, that propelled her journey towards becoming a fitness expert. And then I will not read the next 2 or 3 paragraphs, although this journey is absolutely amazing. So Carmelle, can I get you to comment on that part of your life? I have to say, I'm also going to say, I can't believe that like you needed, I wish I'd known you earlier, because like saying to the world, oh yeah, I'm a woman of color who owns a successful construction business. Like that ought to be something that is something pretty special in the world. It shouldn't be as special as it is, but wow, what an achievement. But what about the fitness coaching side of your life? How does that fit in?
That fits in. I feel like it will be a part of my life forever, simply because I love it. And the reason why I love it was mostly because of this car accident that I was a part of. Now, don't get me wrong, I was always a tomboy and I always wanted to run track and I always wanted to do those things. And so jumped into this opportunity to study martial arts because my creative side led me to making flyers and kind of marketing for this new martial arts teacher that was in the neighborhood. He says, do my posters and my flyers for me and you study for free. I joined and I brought my sister along with some of my girlfriends, and we studied. Like we were in college with nothing else to do. So if we weren't home, we were at the dojo. Mom knew that. So because we studied so much, so consistently, we were able to earn our black belts within 2 years. So that was an incredible journey in and of itself. Lots of bruises, lots of
years.
Yeah,
That's
2 years.
wild.
Yes, because we were there. If we weren't home, we were at the dojo. I'm not kidding when I say that. We were 18, 19. Actually, no, we were like 21, 22 with nothing else to do but train. And because we were doing it with friends, and that's one of my main things when it comes to fitness, do your activities, your workouts, your fitness with friends. People, it takes a support group, right? For us to be able to say, I'm going to do it, to hold us accountable. And that's how I was able to do this in 2 years. I joined with my friends and the other people that were there. We made friends, so we became a family, and we were able to do this so quickly. But after that, I settled into real life, Scott, and I started working, and slowly fitness just became like was not a part of the picture anymore. And about 10 years, I didn't want anything to do with exercise. I just wanted to be my pretty old little, skinny self. And I knew it wasn't happening, Scott. I knew I was headed in the direction of my parents. My father had adult diabetes, type 2. My mom had hypertension. And I knew I was headed in that direction because the numbers on the scale was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I still didn't want anything to do with exercise. I said, I'll just change my diet. But I got into a car accident one night. I fell asleep while I was driving, crashed into a pole. Surgeries later and broken bones later, they sent me home after 6 days in the hospital, and I didn't want to leave the hospital. I felt so weak. I felt like if I so much as bumped into a wall, I would just fall apart, literally. But I went home, and guess what? I didn't break myself. In fact, I got stronger. My doctor said, we need you to eat and we need you to take in those calories. That's what's going to help you heal. And we need you to keep moving. For the first time, Scott, I didn't look at fitness and nutrition as something fun to do with my friends. For the first time, I looked at it as something my body needed in order to heal. So for the first time, I saw how fitness and nutrition played its role in helping my body sustain the injuries and heal itself from the injuries. And so when I saw this happening, I said, well, what else can my body do? And that's what really propelled me into my fitness. And it's a constant desire to keep challenging myself, my body, learning about what I can do, learning about what my limitations are and overcoming them, and taking people along on this journey with me. So whoever wants to be better, feel better about themselves, like what they see in the mirror, with or without clothing, I got you. And that is my message, because I knew that it took people around me, people who know me, love me, and supported me, for me to do what I could do after sustaining those injuries from my car accident. So that's what I want to serve to other people in my business.
Fantastic answer. Let me tag one little extra question on, and it's really not a trick one. You did mention college, but I didn't remember to ask you if any of your college career, or any of your family's college careers, by the way, have included community college.
No. I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology, however. Yes. So it was I studied interior design, and it was I just went first for my associates, because that's the way that program ran. Go for your associates, and then you go on for your bachelor's. So that portion, the 2 years that I did for my associates, was kind of like my community college type, type education. So that's the way I can.
That's a great way to answer the question. Honestly, that's a great way to answer the question.
Yes.
So where did you get the business skills? Like, was that part of the the Fashion Institute's training, or what? Like you,
No,
like, did
it
you have to
wasn't.
learn that on the job? Like, it's amazing that you have. I'm still completely gobsmacked that you're out there running this business in the
You know,
construction.
Scott, quite honestly, I'm still figuring it out, but I'm still figuring this business thing out. But when I first started with the construction, my boss, I was working for an architect, and he happened to leave the business and was kind of forced back in for reasons we don't have to get into. But he says, Carmelle, wouldn't you like to start your own filing representative business? And wouldn't you like to do that? So, and he says, I'm here. I will help you every step of the way. How can I not take advantage of an offer like that? So, and that's exactly what he did. He became dad. He helped me and my business partners start this, launch it. He helped us register ourselves. He held us by the hands and said, this is what we're going to do next. And then he just kind of like let us go, like a proud papa, and said, go and spread your wings. And even till this day, we still do work for him. He is one of our clients. And without that, like a lot of times, I was just on a Clubhouse last night with a woman that says sometimes you have to see yourself through somebody else's eyes, because they sometimes see in you what you cannot. And this was 11 years ago. So I was just pretty much like going with the flow. I was making money. I knew my work and I enjoyed it. And he stopped me and said, hey, listen, open your own, start your own. And I entertained that for a little bit. Then I said, why the heck not? I'll be doing the same thing that I'm doing just now for myself. I'll be boss. I'll be able to run the show. I can have my own hours. And then I slowly realized that having a business like that, my own hours meant all hours, but that's another topic.
There you go. Well, and it's a wonderful echo of what Sneha was saying about the importance of finding allies and mentors.
Yes.
Male or female. I mean, I'm glad to hear that sometimes they can be male. I mean, I certainly believe that in my life, but somebody who will really stand behind you in that way. And that's a beautiful example of how he saw something in you, stuck with you, and helped you to change your life in a really deep and significant way. And finding those people in your life and sticking with them on your side is a major message of the book, and I think also to be proud of community college is a major message of community college. I think one reason you see so many students who do thrive in community college, as Sneha had done, I saw that personally, is that, and it was far from just me, she found allies and mentors, and that made a deep difference for her. And that's at our best, that's what Foothill College and other fine community colleges do. That's what we're all about. Okay, Dr. Tonya, thank you for being so patient. And I'm going to once again take advantage of the fact that I can read a little bit about you and then have you continue direct from the book. Dr. Tonya Blackmon has always been an entrepreneur. She's a veteran. She's done so many different things. She's a self-published author. She does business and grant writing workshops. Yes, she got her doctorate and didn't even think about the doctorate level. So welcome to the Gen channel, Dr. Tonya.
Thank you so much, Dr. Scott, for having me, and also to Sheena, Carmelle, and Sneha. I love you all, international boss women.
And I love that you call yourself, we were talking before the interview started, that I get called Dr. Scott all the time in my teaching life. So I'm glad you're comfortable with Dr. Tonya, because I like that, and from what I can see already, it kind of fits your personality. So I'll start with my same question. How is it that you came to be involved in this wonderful and amazing book, International Women Who Boss Up?
Well, amazingly, I received an email, and I have a podcast myself and also a show, and it's called the Mucho Dinero Show. And I received an invite from Tam Lutz, so kudos to her for sure. And we met with one another. She told me about the project, and I am I'm addicted to collaborations. I think that's a good way to say it.
That's a lovely
I love working with people, like on this panel today. I just completely love it. And because of what Tam was doing, I wanted to be a part of it, because I believe that we're making history.
Oh, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. Now, what about in terms of your own? Oh, I'll start with, I can put this in the question. are you an alum or any of your family alums of community colleges? Because it's always fun to hear, as previously with Sheena. But even if you're not, what was kind of your journey? And is there a boss up moment that you'd like to share with us out of your own life?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love community colleges, and this is why. I am a graduate of College Alameda, happily graduate of College Alameda, Alameda, California. Yes, I am.
3 out of 4 people.
And I've also taught at the collegiate level. I taught at Pensacola State College for a while. I did IT when they were open, and several other colleges as an adjunct. So I loved education. And one of the things that I love the most about being with those population of students is that I'm able to use my life skills, my experiences, my education, my inspiration to encourage other people to dream beyond what they could ever think. And it's happened for me. I've had students that were special needs students that ended up joining the military, and a few of my students have earned a master's now. And it's such an awesome opportunity to be able to just encourage people and also teach them at the same time.
Wow, so you're not only a student, you're an educator in the community college system.
Yes, I am.
From the Bay Area, Bay Area proud, yes.
Yes, I am.
All right, that's so fantastic. What a great panel. So Dr. Tonya, I'm still going to put you on the spot, like in your own life. Like, for example, I would like to hear a little bit more about your military career as a veteran. Because I know that that's helping you to work with veteran students. Foothill College, like most community colleges, we have a lot of veteran students, some of my favorite students, I must say, and we proudly built and expanded our Veterans Center in the last 5 years under the leadership of our president, Dr. Thuy Nguyen. So it's been really something special for us, and in my life, a very special thing. But did you have boss up moments in the military? I can't imagine that you didn't.
Well, when I think about my entire lifespan, there's been so many different boss up moments. I remember because in the military, we're taught to lead, we're taught to be leaders. So I believe one of what really was, I had to create SOPs, standard operating procedures, and then teach the classes based upon what I had created. I was a lab tech, a medical lab tech in the Navy. Wow. And got out of the Navy and then attended College of Alameda full time, a couple of years, earned that degree. And then went on and earned educational degree, bachelor's, and then an MBA, and then now a doctorate in international business. And just been having the time of my life. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, so many people have faced economic traumas along the way. And ever since the pandemic hit, I've been doing things that I've never done before. For example, if you would go to XOD Network on Roku, or if you would go to the Swing Girl Media on Roku, the Mucho Dinero show is on there. And that's really a boss up moment for me. I never thought I would be on TV. I never thought it would happen. But because of this project, it's something like this International Women of Color book, Who Boss Up book. What they did to me is it made me do things that I never thought that I would do. Never thought I would do.
That's a fantastic thing. And I hope I think this book so deserves to bring you more success and more visibility and a larger platform and a bigger megaphone. You certainly all have amazing things to say and do. What do you tell your students about bossing up? Since I have a fellow educator, and I know, Sneha, I could have asked you this question easily. And of course, Carmelle, you're basically doing education both as a manager and as a fitness trainer. So I might even have to circle back. But if you're speaking direct to community college students, what would you like to tell them about this book and about bossing up in general?
In general, I believe that you should dream, and I think you should dream globally. So every chance to get an opportunity is I show people where the money is, the government money is, and that's where the grant money is. Wow, yes. So what I do is I point people in the right direction. I often encourage people to create a success plan, because success is planned. And then if we get in the classroom, we'll actually do that business plan together or either corporately in the entire class. I teach people, students in particular, or my clients, the strategies for success. and I love it. I'm having the time of my life.
You know, it shows on your face, and it shows in your body language. It just shows. It just shows. Well, thank you all three. We did. Sheena had to drop off for another interview. That's how busy this book has made you all, which is fine. But we're coming up on an hour pretty soon, so maybe I would like to kind of loop around and let each of you pick up the conversation wherever you feel like, if there's something in the conversation you would like to highlight, right? Or something that you want to say to community college educators or community college students, or just something you want to say to each other. I got to say, I have enjoyed this. I have enjoyed all of my Stanford Gen Channel interviews, but this one keeps up. Like, this has been such a pleasure. And I cannot say enough about how articulate you are. One of the things that really amazed me when I picked up the book is it is in an interview format. And sometimes that's a great thing. And I got to say, as somebody who reviews books, sometimes the interviews, could be a little better. And every single interview I read in this book, I was flabbergasted. I mean, I read a little bit from Sneha's, right? Like, I was just flabbergasted at the way you are able to be articulate and forceful and clear and inspirational spontaneously in an interview. And I guess that comes with success coaching, comes with being educators, it comes with bossing up. But I just got to say, it's a beautiful thing to experience. And I've really enjoyed meeting you all today, and always re-meeting Sneha with her 2 latest new jobs and next level of success. Look, every time I see Sneha, she's leveled up again. So Sneha's like leveled up again. I got to catch up with her. But Sneha, let me start with you. Do you have some closing thoughts or responses to Carmelle and Dr. Tonya in terms of what they've said so far?
I honestly, I love each of these ladies so much. We are actually, 3 of us are working on some other things.
I want to hear about this. I don't know if you can let the cat out of the bag, but you have kitties too. So like, you have real cats to let out of real bags, but whatever.
I do. They're actually around here. But speaking of these ladies, they're both such phenomenal women, and they are the reason why I do the work that I do, because I get to meet them every single day, and they are why I am excited to work every day, because even if it's just to have a conversation with them, even if it's just to showcase their bossing up moments and why they are incredible, this is why we need each other. And this is why I'm going to circle back to shutting down that white noise and all those naysayers and learning how to prioritize yourself, because we as women, especially these 2 women here, in addition to myself, we have decided, you know what, screw the world. Screw what we should have done. Screw what is limited to, 1 or 2 things. All 3 of us do more than one thing. And guess what? That's okay. That is okay. And it is better than okay, because we are happy. We are enjoying ourselves. So we want to encourage other women like ourselves, or who remind us of ourselves, even in a past life, to say, hey, come on up here. Let's do this together. Because the more of us that others see, we will become a force of nature. And honestly, that's why I tell everyone, learn how to prioritize yourself. Learn how to be selfish, because we as women are conditioned to be selfless servers of society. And guess what? Can't serving mean that you serve yourself first and make sure that you have everything that you need before you give back to the world? We need to invert that. We need to bring it back to ourselves. Educate yourself so that you can educate the world, because if you do not pour into your own cup first, how can you be expected to pour into others? You will be depleted within no time. It'll happen, guaranteed, I promise you. Learn how to prioritize yourselves, just like these women have done, because, I mean, look at them. We have an Army vet, a doctor, and so many other things. The list goes on and on. We have a boss lady, owns her own construction company and her CFIT company, and countless other things. And I love and adore each of them, because they are exactly the kind of women that I would want my daughter to know about. And I would be like, hey, look at Carmelle, look at Tonya, they can do it. So don't tell me that life is hard. Yeah, it's hard, but guess what? When you make it, you make it. And that's exactly what we need to start showing women, that just because it's hard does not mean that it cannot be done. In fact, Glennon Doyle, she happens to be a white author, but she wrote something from an amazing book. And she said in that book, women can do hard things. We can do hard things. Just because it's hard does not mean that we cannot try and we cannot make it happen. And if we fail, so what? At least we did it. We tried, right?
Yep. We're from Silicon Valley. That's what we do, right? Fail again, fail harder. That's a badge of honor, as Dr. Tonya knows.
Yes.
In the business community. If you haven't failed, they're not even going to look at you twice, right? Like they're going to go. And I'm going to say one thing on my own here as a closing comment, which is, and then Carmelle and Dr. Tonya, don't worry, we're getting to you. But as I'm listening to you, Sneha, I'm also thinking about, this isn't something I thought about the first time I read the book, but it's very powerful for me. And I do talk about it all the time in other contexts. Like I was raised both as a child, a teenager, and as an adult, as an educator, primarily by female mentors. And, you know, all credit to male mentors in my life. And I've had some fantastic ones. All right. Like I have been so lucky with mentors in my life, but I would say that 75% of them were women. And the thing that brought me to them was being impressed by their ability to do what you call bossing up. And I literally, I would kind of stand in their shadow deliberately and watch them. Because I thought this woman knows something that I need to figure out. She knows something about how to make her way forward against a headwind under difficult conditions, particularly when people don't think you should be able to do that, with all the gender baggage and the race baggage and the culture baggage, all of that, in case, you know, many of my female mentors were also lesbians. And so they were swimming upstream against everything, and they did it fantastically well. And I kind of stood in the corner and took notes like, okay, well, I'm a guy, but I want to know how this is done. And they were the best and finest mentors that I had in my life. So just like that, just sort of hit me listening to all three, originally four of you. Carmelle, what about you? What would you like to say as a kind of a closing comment in this wonderful conversation that we've had?
You know, it's so interesting because until quite recently, I'm thinking to myself, my world, I feel, for lack of a better way of saying it, my world is so small, right? So I'm thinking, oh, well, I do what I do. I come from a Haitian family and we're all very successful within our own right. So for me, that's the norm, right? And I've been told before, Carmelle, you're not normal. You're not like other Black people. You know, you're educated. And I'm like, well, that's my normal. Like I'm around educated African American, educated Haitian American, educated Black people. That is my norm. I've been told before, so you were talking about all this extra baggage, right? Besides just being human. I've been told before, oh, how old are you? Listen, don't ever get fat. You look great for your age. What is that? You would never say that to a man. This was a client that spoke to me this way. He would have never said that to a man. And I've been told, I used to wear my hair straight. The second I decided to go with my natural curls, I was literally told, you know, you're going to lose some clients with your hair like that. They don't like to see that type of hair. And I said, I'm sorry, Scott, but I have to repeat. I said, fuck them. They don't want to do business with me. Well, that's how I feel about the whole situation. Although I've never met anybody that told me, listen, I don't like your hair. I'm not going to do business with you. But I say all that to say, yes, there's just all this extra baggage that somebody such as you, Scott, you said it before, the privilege, right? That you'll never have to deal with because you don't come packaged like this, right? So, and even with people who don't associate male or female with male or female, people who don't associate as an African American or who are women of color, people of color, you know, there's just all this extra stuff. So then when I stop and think, well, I just had to do what I just do what I do, I'm never thinking that there's somebody out there that did not have to deal with all the extra nonsense that I have to deal with, that I just take into stride because, hey, listen, it's all part of the package. You know, so there's a lot to be said for that as well, that I can share with my women of color sisters, Dr. Tonya, Sneha. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I say this. Dr. Tonya, you work with money, and money is so powerful that they never expect a woman to understand and know money in that regard. So when you come already and people know that you work with money and government grants at that, oh my gosh, a powerhouse. A powerhouse. And you demand respect even before you utter a word, simply because you work with the green. Scott, I really want to thank you for this platform. Thank you, Sneha, for bringing us on. Thank you, Dr. Tonya, for being all that you are to me. And Sheena is amazing as well. I'm sorry she had to leave so early. So that is my piece. Thank you again.
All right, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And Dr. Tonya, I think I'm going to give you the last word. So you're on, Dr. Tonya.
Thank you so much, Dr. Scott, for having me. I've had a ball on here today. It has empowered me, it has enlightened me, and I'm also educated every time I get on platforms like this. And I want to speak to the student that's listening. I want to also speak to my college colleagues that are listening. I want you all to know that you are valuable. Yes, you can, and yes, you will. And if you're a sister, adjust that crown, stand tall, and walk in destiny. You got this.
All right. I think that's the perfect way to end an interview with Sneha Gandhi, Carmelle, Dr. Tonya, and Sheena, who's not with us right now, but who's on the early part of the interview. Please do make sure that you get your hands on their amazing book. I want to screen share it one last time here. It's called International Women of Color, Who Boss Up? Asian, Latina, and African American women who thrive and take charge of their destiny. And you got a good dose of that today. And so thank you for joining us on the Stanford Gen channel.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you.